Chapter 22 of Dyke Darrel. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Dyke Darrel, the Railroad Detective, or The Crime of the Midnight Express, by Frank Pinkerton. Chapter 22. The Empty Seat. A hand shook the door as Professor Ruggles entered the room. He at once suspected something wrong, but cared only for his own safety, and so did not attempt to warn the inmates of Mrs. Scarlet's den of their danger. He hurried to the rear of the block, down an upper hall, and as he was passing into an alley down the back stairs, the four men had burst in the side door and rushed into Madge Scarlet's dingy sitting-room. "The beaks are out in force, it seems," muttered Ruggles, as he halted for a moment in the ground to rest from his exertion. "I hope Nick and that fool Pard of his will finish Dyke Darrel before the cops get on to them. As for me, I shall turn my back on this accursed town the moment I am assured that Nell is out of danger. I will be quite secure in New York, I imagine." And the red-haired villain made his escape from that building and, leaving his charge in an out-of-the-way alley, went forth to find a conveyance to take the wounded girl to a more safe retreat. He succeeded in finding a hack that suited his purpose, and with his insensible companion he was driven to another part of the city, on the west side. Ruggles had more than one resort in the great western metropolis, and after he had placed Nell in a cosy room, with an old negress to watch over her, he breathed easy once more. Nell Darrel was badly injured, and for several days she raved in delirium. When she came to her senses she was weak and almost helpless. During all this time the black tool of Darlington Ruggles cared for her in a most kindly manner. The negress had been instructed to do all in her power for the girl, who, the professor assured her, was a near relative who was not wholly sound in mind, and this fact, combined with an accident, had brought on the trouble from which she was now suffering. "Poor little Lily," murmured the negress, in a sympathetic tone, when the girl was able to sit up and look about her. "Where am I?" demanded Nell. "You's in good hands, chile," answered the black woman. "Your cousin says he'll take you outen dis soon as you can trabel." "My cousin?" Nell stared at the black, seemingly honest face in wonder. Of a sudden the memory of the adventure in the basement on Clark Street came to the girl as a light from a clouded sky. She had indeed been under a cloud for a long time, and had no means of judging of the passage of time. What had happened during all this while? What fate had been her brother's? A feeling of deepest anxiety filled the girl's breast. Ere she could find voice for more words, however, the door opened and a man entered the room. A low, alarmed cry fell from the lips of Nell Darrel. Before her stood Harper Elliston, smiling and plucking at his beard, which was but a mere stubble now, he having shaved since she had met him last. "Ah, Nell, you are looking bright. I trust that you feel better. You have been very sick. How does your head feel?" For the first time the girl realized that there was a sore spot under her hair at the side of her head. She touched it with her hand, and seemed surprised. "You have forgotten, doubtless," he said. "You were rescued from a band of villains nearly a fortnight since. It seems that one of them must have fired at you, since there was a slight wound where you just put your hand, that was doubtless made by a bullet." Nell Darrel was beginning to remember the scene in the cellar. "I was rescued, you say? Who were the rescuers?" "Myself, among others. I think you may safely acknowledge that you owe your life to me," said the New Yorker coolly. "And Dyke?" questioned Nell with intense eagerness. "Was saved also, but he is badly hurt, and will be laid up for a month or more. He is in one of the city hospitals." "Oh, sir, I am thankful it is no worse. What have they done with the villains, that sleek one with the red hair and beard?" "They are all in prison, and will be brought to court as soon as the witnesses are in a condition to appear against them." "The witnesses?" "Dyke Darrel and yourself." "Can I go to Dyke?" "Hardly," he answered with a smile. "You could not walk, that is certain, and I am sure to attempt to ride would prove a dangerous experiment. I am too deeply interested in your welfare to permit the attempt." "But I am quite strong, I assure you," returned Nell, rising to her feet only to sink back again with a cry of piteous weakness. "You see, it would not do to attempt leaving your room at present," said the villain, still smiling. "Besides, there is no need of it. Your brother is doing as well as could be expected, and he has the assurance that you are out of danger, which has proved a great comfort to him, I assure you." "Well, I suppose I ought to be thankful," sighed Nell, with tears in her dark eyes. "I cannot understand it all just now. It seems strange that I should be subject to such treatment. "Do you know the man Sims?" "Sims. The one with the red hair and beard. He met me at the depot." "Exactly. I cannot say that I know the fellow, but I suspect he is a scoundrel of the first water. Don't bother your head about these things now, Nell. Try and get rested and strong, so that you can get back from here to your own home as soon as possible. I hope you do not fear to trust me?" He eyed her keenly at the last. She was too weak to fully realize the enormity of this man's offence. She knew nothing of his connection with the ruffians who had made of Mrs. Scarlett's building a rendezvous. She only knew that he had been indiscreet and insulting once, when in liquor, but of this he might have repented long since. At any rate, he seemed to be doing her a good turn now, and she could do no other way than trust him. "I am still puzzled about one thing," she said, seeming to forget the question he had propounded. "What is that?" asked Elliston. "Why was I brought here?" "Simply because you were not able to be taken home." "But the hospital " "Was no place for a lady. I realized that you needed the best of care, and knowing Aunt Venus was a kind, motherly soul, an excellent nurse, even though she had a black skin, I brought you here. And I've been here how long?" "About 14 days." "So long? You are surprised? It doesn't seem a day." "I suppose not. You haven't been in your right mind any of the time. Have you any word to send to Dyke?" "Are you going to him soon?" "Immediately. I call at the hospital every day to inquire after the dear boy, and I haven't been there this morning." His voice was gentle, and there was a moist light in his dark eyes. It was barely possible that she had wronged the New Yorker, and the thought caused a pang. In the time to come she would confess her obligations, but now she was not in a mood for it. "If I could write a line, it would do him more good than aught else," said Nell. "Can you control your hand?" "Oh, yes, easily." "Then you shall write the dear boy. As you say, it will be of immense benefit to him." Mr. Elliston drew forth, from an inner pocket, a book. Opening it, he tore out a leaf and placed it, with pencil, in the lap of the invalid girl. It was not without difficulty that she controlled her hand sufficiently to write. Taking the folded note, Elliston bade her good morning, and passed from the room. The moment he gained the street he tore the bit of paper to fragments, a smile glinting over his face meantime. "So much for that," he muttered. "Nell is about in the right trim for removal, and I must not delay another day. Simple little thing! She believed every word that I told her regarding the outcome of that racket on Clark Street. What an opinion she would have of me if she knew the truth! I must get to Gotham immediately. My funds are running low, and she must replenish them. I haven't seen Aunt Scarlett since the racket. I hope she got her quietus. I believe I have had quite enough of her disinterested assistance, quite enough of it." And yet the scheming gentleman was to receive more of the Clark Street hag's assistance in the future, and in a way that was not just exactly pleasant, than he imagined. Night hung its sable mantle over the earth. A silver moon rode in a clear sky, and the lightning express rattled down through the night with a hiss and a screech that rent the silence with an uncanny sound. The train was speeding through the Empire State, and when morning dawned, with no accident happening, it would come thundering into the great city by the sea. Two persons occupying a seat in the car next to the sleeper merit our attention. One is a heavily veiled lady, apparently sleeping, since her head reclines against the back of the seat, and a low breathing is heard, or might be but for the noise made by the train rattling over the steel rails. Who is the woman? No need to ask when we note the fact that the man sitting there possesses red hair and a beard, the irrepressible Professor Darlington Ruggles, of Chicago. He has been eminently successful thus far in his plot for the safe abduction of Nell Darrel. Under the influence of a powerful drug, he conveyed her to the station, and set out on the previous day for the East. His companion was an invalid sister, who was in a comatose state a portion of the time as a result of her ill health. This was the story told by the professor to inquisitive people, and the truth did not come to the surface. Travellers who became accustomed to seeing all sorts of people are not often suspicious. The villain was more successful than he could have hoped. Within a few hours he would be in New York, and then he felt that he could bid defiance to pursuit. It was now past midnight. The man from Chicago felt a deep drowsiness stealing over him. He wished to shake it off, and so, rising and seeing only people in an unconscious state about him, he concluded to go into the smoking car and enjoy a cigar. He began to feel nervous, and such a stimulant seemed absolutely necessary. The train drew into a station, paused less than a minute, and then went swiftly on its way. Calmly the scheming villain sat and puffed his cigar until it was more than half consumed, and then he tossed the stump through the open window, and once more he passed into the other car. When he gained the seat he had lately occupied, he could not suppress a cry of startled wonder. The seat was empty! He had left Nell Darrel there not more than 20 minutes since, drugged into complete insensibility. She could not have gone from the seat of her own volition. An indefinable thrill of fear stole over the stalwart frame of Professor Darlington Ruggles. He glanced up and down the car; the girl was not in sight. But one person was awake, an old man, who said, "Lookin' for the young lady?" The professor nodded. "She got off the last station." "Got off? How?" "She had help, of course," explained the old passenger quickly. "Who helped her?" cried Ruggles, in a husky voice. "An old woman, who got on and off at the last station, quick as a wink." Chapter 23